everyone. This is Dr. Judith Briles, and welcome back to another episode of the Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast. And as always, we want to provide tidbits and ahas and strategies for your author success. And I always want to thank and do a shout out. We get a double shout out today to our sponsors, including the amazing design, cover, interior work from Rebecca Finkel, who just happens to be our guest today. And so we're going to be talking about all kinds of success with book marketing, which includes your cover, and the interior and the layout and everything else. But we want to thank her for her sponsorship of the podcast and fpgd.com website. So make sure you explore and check that out. And of course, NZ Graphics with Nick Zellinger. So with that, I always like to start our shows with a quote from my book, Snappy, Sassy, Salty Success, for authors and writers. Over 400 of my quirky sometimes quotes, but we're going to go with this one today. The more you niche who you're writing for, the bigger your market becomes. And the more your cover, and we're going to get into this today, the more your cover shouts out what your book is about, the better your chance is you're going to have for a pickup from people who are voyeurs going around the bookstores, who are looking at thumbnails on Amazon in the category that you have put your book into. Does it pop and stand out? So with that said, Rebecca, welcome back to the show. You've got how many gazillion years of design?
Well, 35 years of book design, right? I started doing this almost right out of college. So it's been I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. Not only, I love that every author gives me this whole idea and I get to play with it and learn. That's been the biggest side benefit of everything. I get to learn, what their expertise is. I know a lot of cocktail hour, snippets of a bunch of information, but it is fascinating to me to learn all these different things. And then also it's to match, if you just give me the idea I'm doing a book on leadership. Ooh, that's not enough. I can design a cover that's so far off base of what you're doing that it's not even relevant. In fact, a lot of times I ask for a table of contents, just to give me scope. Oh, this is what you're talking about. Awesome. I can do that. Give me parameters. I can make those parameters sing, but I can also wander way off path, and that's just wasted time for everybody. So let's, anyway, love that. I love talking to authors. They're fascinating people. I don't have a book in me, so part of me is like, wow, you wrote a book. I'm a voracious reader. I read 4 or 5 books a week. I don't sleep very well, so I read a lot. And that's the trade-off. So I just am fascinated. People say, oh, I'm sure you have a book in you. And I'm like, not really. I really don't. Yeah. I would love to enable you. I'd love to push your book as far as it can possibly go. Open up new markets, open up new eyes to your work, open up, love to push that as far as it can go.
So what we're going today is bringing 35 years of experience to the format for covers, for interior designs, to,
ebooks and websites. I've added those to my repertoire over the last 10, 15 years.
And here's what's cool. When you've got someone who has got that design skill set and can really goose something up, that it carries across with all your branding, these key brandings that you have to do. So when she says websites, it's really important to know, does your branding of your website reflect what you're writing about or who you say you are, and everything else? And most times they do not.
Right. So, what actually spurred me on to do websites was I kept feeding the website designer a bunch of images of the book, of the author, of this, of the one sheet, of all of their bling and all of their swag that I was developing. Yeah. And then when I saw the website, I was like, how'd you get there? That isn't anything. How did you get there? And so I'd be like, I can just do this. I can just do this. And then I know, because I've talked to the author and we developed the book, and we developed it, I can just make it all
where it goes. Yeah. And it does seem to kind of flow faster, which I kind of like, when they can all kind of pop together and come out. So I am all game for that. kind of strategy, of thinking, of mentality, and especially with these changes that go on. So one of the things that for all of you, when I'm working, first off, before when I bring a client to Rebecca to work with, so she brings Rebecca as a key team member of bringing a book to publication, that I will often send my clients to the bookstore, and I want them to do the do-si-do. And the do-si-do is heading to the section of the bookstore where their book would live if the bookstore carried it. And you need to look at what the other competing books in that genre are doing. And I want to look at current books, like this year, last year. That's called current to me. And seeing what those covers look like, what the fonts look like, what colors are due, what images, and that. And I want you to open up the books and look at them. How are they displayed? How are they connecting? Hopefully. And I think that's one of the things that Rebecca has done so well for my clients, is that interior so connects with the reader visually as well as the way the words are presented, that it makes a huge difference. It helps sell the book, by the way.
Thank
So
you.
with that said, that they do the do-si-do in the section, and then they come back out and they come to those main tables. Now, the main tables in a bookstore, some of them will be genre specific, some of them will be new arrivals, some of them will just be featuring one awesome author who kind of rules the bookstore, or a genre. So you want to look them over and just see again the color, the fonts, the images, what pops, what gets you. And so they start talking, and then I tell you, you take out your camera and start taking pictures, because when we talk to Rebecca or any designer that we're working with, you need to have an idea of what you like and what you do not like.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
I have a
So
I have a set of things that I ask, there's not ever a set things, but one of the things I definitely ask is, what colors are you looking for? And if somebody says, oh, I just don't want blue on my cover at all, and their title is something like the blue shape of whatever, I'm thinking,
well, we're in trouble.
I'm gonna send you a cover that has blue on it. And it's not because I'm a dork or I wasn't listening. It's because on one hand, I want you to be sure that that's what you really want. I want you to
Yeah,
look at this and I want to have a conversation. And if you're still
yeah,
like, no,
yeah.
I might push your, I might push your button again, or we might have a further discussion, but I'm listening. But I want, part of my job is to make you sure and to see your alternatives and to see what's going on, and for me to project my 35 years of experience to say, have you considered why and what your audience expects? So anyway, it is a conversation for sure. I'm never just saying, well, these are the covers and you got to pick. No,
Well, in fact, I'm loving that you're saying this, because a lot of times when you get with another publisher, I'm not involved with certain types of publishers at all, but that they will give you, okay, you get three choices. That's it. Three choices. And if you want to change it, if you don't like our choices for you, then get out your credit card, because they're going to start upcharging you very quickly. I
sure.
think, Rebecca, one person we worked with was 42 covers before we got to the one that she finally got. And it took me taking her back to a bookstore to re-look at stuff again until something popped.
I mean, it wasn't, she wasn't like the nightmare client either. We just couldn't quite get her message correct. I mean, I've had nightmare clients, and we're not going to go on to that one. That's not this lecture. Nope. So, nope, we're not that one. But she wasn't necessarily a nightmare. We just couldn't quite get her message. We were like almost there, or almost there, but not, what about this? And what about that? And it wasn't quite covering these things. And whew, if only we could do this. I mean, it wasn't, we just kept struggling, and it wasn't like the book was stopped. We just kept moving forward with the book. We were writing it, or actually you guys were writing it. That's not my deal. And so eventually what happened was we in that bookstore dance that you asked her to do, we went to
Yeah.
you guys went to other genres. You went to other pieces of the bookstore.
It was a business book,
I
everyone,
think
and we
you
looked at
exhaustively went through
every
every
business
aisle.
book
I think you went through every
until
aisle,
we saw an image that popped that was the trigger.
right?
We
That's
saw it, and she said that will work. That's it. And then we could take it and run with it.
And of course, you never copy. Oh God, you never copy. Like, what is the point of
No.
copying it? It's been done. People have seen it.
Right.
It's over.
Yeah.
But you can take the idea, the concept, and
Hmm.
improve it or move it in the direction that you need to go in, or do
Hmm.
whatever you need to do with it. Straight out copying is like, what's the point? It's just it. Ugh, I don't even see the reason for that. But you can take the concept and like add her deal that she was working with it and move it forward. And so yes, but once she saw it and really was like, oh yes, it was an explosive.
It
And so
it
anyway,
was ex
and
it did had a
and
bomb on it.
and
Okay, so with that said,
right. And so the thing is that's she'd never thought about it that way, but as soon as she saw it, and it was the idea that she was writing at the same time and like coming to conclusions with her writing. And so it was like a process of the writing, coming to conclusions, writing down the actual facts, writing down things that were happening. And so I think it was a process of both. And so when she saw the bomb, she was like, yeah, yes, that
that became part of
all
the explanation point. Bomb.
right. It
And
became
then, okay, so then the other thing that I've loved working with Rebecca on in cover design is we didn't stop at just the cover. We started now carrying our covers into the interior. So
yes.
now every book that I have the pleasure of working with is truly customized on the interior. It's not just the rewriting from the developmental editing side and all that. It's the visual story that carries through. And for Cheryl, the bomb became our aha points that
Oh,
we were trying to
the
reflect.
bomb was
All of a sudden it became integrated in every chapter.
the bomb had a nice circle shape, so I could use the
Yeah.
artistic circle shape for a bunch of
Yeah.
things. It became an exclamation point as far as like, ooh, this is an aha, like
Mm.
Judith was
Yeah.
mentioning. I mean, I'd love to pull the cover into the interior. It is a balance. I never want somebody to look at the book and be like, oh my God, the design of this is just incredible, and not realize what the words say. You want the reader to just read. You want them to be like, this is an exclamation. I had to pay attention to this.
Hmm.
Oh, this is a title, a chapter start. And so I
Hmm.
can tell that because it's got this nice bomb shape, and then they just
Yeah.
keep reading. So I don't want the bomb to overshadow or be too heavy, but I do want it to enhance the reader, give the reader cues. Oh, title page, absolutely. Chapter page, absolutely. Got the explanation points. And I think she also had like conclusions at the end of every one. And somehow I used the bomb or something with that, with the
Where we had
conclusion.
something.
Like
But
a
so I mean, we don't want you all to do you think we just do bombs? No, no. But we're just saying that you take an element from that cover, and Rebecca has been brilliant with doing that to pretty. I call it we prettify stuff. We just make it inviting. So I've always said that the thing that I love about books, when you have a good book, a good story, and I don't care if it's fiction or nonfiction, that when those you have these chapter openers that when it's opened up, you're ready to fall into it. Okay, I'm ready to start again. I'm ready to go. And that's what we're talking about in that design. So we're talking covers and we're talking design. And Rebecca has this thing. It's one of my favorite things we always do. She's always a star of our faculty on the Publishing at Sea cruise that we do once a year. And we'll be going out in March next year, in 2026. You could join us
it's so fun.
um,
It's so fun.
February 15th. We are cruising in the Caribbean. And Rebecca does an exercise, and it's like, wait, I need more time. I need to study each one. No, that's not the point. So I told her because we're doing video, it'd be very cool that we
Oh
could
yeah,
show that.
we could do that. Yeah,
Um, okay, so Rebecca, if you're ready to do
I'm
the
ready.
share thing, yeah,
I'm ready.
okay.
Just gonna move some
So
screens around so
yes,
I
yeah,
can be
we're going to
ready.
bring it up and we're going to show you what we're talking about of how critically important it is for all of you to make sure you've got the right cover. Why? Because you only have a few seconds to tell a voyeur in the bookstore, a voyeur going through Amazon or any other online retailer to say, whoop, stop here. We need to look a little bit more. You only have a couple of seconds. So, Rebecca, let's do it.
Can I share?
Yes, please.
All right. It says sharing's not turned on. It
Sharing should be turned on.
says sharing,
So,
send request.
Ben, you need to do that so we can, producer, do you have the share button on your screen?
I do. and it says send request. So I'll send request.
Okay, so sharing needs to be turned on. Okay.
Oh,
Whoops, wrong one we shared with. Stop sharing. All right, now you can share.
yep. Okay. Here we go. Share.
Here we go. Okay, good. Here we go, everyone, now. So let's get it. Can you kind of, there we go. Now, this is part of the program that we do on the cruise, that we always do. We have that.
All right. Let me see if I can't organize myself a little bit better.
All right.
All right. This is who I am. This is what's going on. Can you see this?
Yes, just fine. Mhm.
Okay. This is who I am. F&P graphic design, email and website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I went to the New York Times bestseller list, picked off the top 8. So, and the idea is I'm mimicking something you've been in a bookstore and you're looking at an array of books. So you're going to buy a couple books because you're going on the cruise and you need a couple books to read on the plane and then on those lounge decks. So the idea is you're just looking for a book that fits you. You're looking for something that you want to pick up, hardcover, softcover, makes no difference. And something that's in your genre. So the idea is in a bookstore, you have these arrays of books, and Barnes & Noble or any of your independents, any of your bookstores that you go into, or your libraries as well, will have an array that's more like 6 across and 6 down. That's 36 books. And there are people that follow and look at other people in bookstores, the stalkers, and they have determined through time that people give 7 seconds to this array of 36 books. So all 36 books get 7 seconds. So you're like scanning. Nope, nope, nope. I want to sleep at night, so I don't want to read that Stephen King, and I'm not a fan of this person, and that's not my genre, and oh, I can't even read that cover. So I just keep going. But then they find one. Whew, that's my book, and they pull it out. So at that point, your 7 seconds are exhausted. If it's 7 seconds within these 36 books or 30, and at that point, it's a weird dance. Now my job is kind of over and your job begins as an author because now they're reading the words. So I need to make sure the words are spelled correctly and presented well. But at that point, what they actually say takes more importance than what they look like. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to give you 8 books, which is cheating. It's not 36, but I am only going to give you 7 seconds. And I'm going to count them off and then I'm going to blank the screen. So here we go. Can I do this? Here we go. 7 seconds. All righty. Which book did you pick? It is a back and forth, and I wish we had an audience. That's why it's so great to have an audience, because it's an exercise that has no homework. It's an exercise that just doesn't, I just need feedback. So now Judith and I get to talk about this because she's always got an opinion, which I really love. But anyway, going back, we're going to bring them all back. We're going to bring them all back. And this is truly just fiction. I also sometimes do this with nonfiction, which is a completely different animal. It's fascinating. The way things change. Because I do this, sometimes if I'm stuck on a project, I'll just do it. I'll just pull them all up and do it to myself. But nonfiction's fascinatingly different. So here we go. Here's just the top. And this is from like yesterday. I went ahead and pulled them out from yesterday. Interestingly enough, Rebecca Yaros has got 1 and 3. If you start, 4th ring is 1, top 1, and Beautiful Ugly is 8 if you go across. So that's the rankings. Some of these books are much older than others. Some of these books are getting a second little pop. James just won 2 prestigious book awards and is falling, but is receiving some other little pops because it got some book awards. I can tell you that Rebecca Yaros has continually those books, that series of books, which now there's a 3rd in the series. Yes, 3rd in the series has been translated into Spanish, has been translated multiple languages. Ridiculously popular, and has been in the top 10 for the last 6 months, 9 months, a year maybe. Just very popular. So in the bookstore, and when people are looking, that especially with the 4th Wing and the Iron Flame and all those people have, and Kristen Hannon, have huge fan clubs. And they're very genre specific, fantasy or
romantasy. Let's see, romantasy they call it now. The
Romantic.
fourth, yeah, romantasy
Microgenres are a big thing. Twos, threes.
huge, huge. So fourth wing goes into that. But I was in a bookstore just in the last 2 weeks, signing books all day. And I can't tell you how many people, because they see me at the table, do you know where the fourth wing is? You know, and I've always, when I'm in a bookstore doing a sign, I try to scout around to see what's going on so I can point people in the direction they need to go, including where's the bathroom. And that those fantasy readers are absolutely almost myopic with what they're looking for,
Yes,
and coming
yes,
in. And
yes,
they're also very branded with their covers,
yes.
where they carry, you absolutely know what a Yaros cover is going to be. It's going to, you know, the way it's going to be laid out in that. I have to tell you, being in a bookstore, and I'm a Kristen Hannon fan also.
Yes, very
But
much.
okay, so I never heard of the James author, but I can tell you, in the bookstore, those covers were stunning, stunning. I kept going back just to touch it, to feel it, Rebecca.
There's,
And it,
that's, I have a thing about long words on as titles.
Mhm.
You
Let's
know
talk
I
about
do.
that.
You know I
Yeah,
do. I have a little thing coming up that I just
yeah.
anyway,
Oh, must Bob. Okay.
Bob, I have my little Bob story coming up, but it's a simple word, James, singular, and it's large J with a black, and it's just black and white. It's all type. Those two, even without the two, if you can block out the two awards, even without the two awards, still works. Still is in
Hmm.
very popular.
Hmm.
All of these titles have very short title. All these books have very short titles.
Yep.
Fourth Wing, The Big Empty, Iron Flame, The Housemaid, James, The Women, The Witchcraft, and For the Wayward Girls. The longest title, and Beautiful Ugly. Beautiful Ugly to me is like, ah, they got away with backward letters. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that amazing? Don't you just love that? For me, as a type nerd, that's so beautiful. They got away with beautiful backward letters, and the beautiful ugly. It just fits. It just fits. It's a pink letters on a mountain that's possibly not very attractive. You can't really tell. Lovely. What a lovely
Okay.
cover.
But as a thumbnail going through,
Correct.
the witchcraft is almost impossible to read.
Correct. Those are I wouldn't, that drives me crazy. I can
Okay.
see how the bigger one, Grady Hendrix, even though Grady Hendrix, you kind of have to pause and go, Grady Hendrix. The
Who's that?
Witchcraft for Wager, oh, oof,
I don't read him. I don't read him, so I don't know.
I don't read them either. It's not, anyway, no,
Okay.
but it's a tough one it's a tough one. You see, they even changed the font for the 4. It's a different font, even though it fits with the rest of them.
Right.
Anyway, you can see that there's 4 of them up there that are red or warm toned. 1, 2, 3,
Mhm.
6, and then 2 of them are black, and then 2 of them are blue and cooler colors, blue and green. Thought that was kind of interesting. There's no rhyme or reason. You can't say a blue cover is better, because then every cover would be blue. You can't say
Mhm.
the yellow cover is going to be better than
Mhm.
everyone. I mean, there's just not, for a while,
Well, and
business books were supposed to be orange, and every business book was orange.
for a while, yeah.
And then it
Well,
becomes blah, then it becomes not special anymore.
yeah, what's not missing here, what's missing, one of the ones is missing that also is huge is Sarah Moss.
It's
And
not in the
she
top
had,
8.
yeah, she has uses almost neon-y type
Yeah,
colors, but there's a very huge consistency. And
correct.
in the bookstores, I'll find just tables full of her books.
Right. I mean, the idea there's a great, between Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, there's a lot of consistency, but it's not identical. And that's
Hmm.
a really, you don't want them to be twins, but you want them to be cousins. That's about it. If you want to do it familial, if that's a good
They're in the
analogy for
family,
you.
but
Right.
but
In the
also
family.
the fonts are in the family. She's
Correct.
got the same fonts.
Correct.
So, all right, that's one. I don't know, Rebecca, if you can find one showing the your last one that we did with the nonfiction covers. You could go finding one because that's always the variation that happens there.
I'm not sure.
That's fiction. Maybe you didn't designate that from that. Yeah.
Well, it's just been a bit. It's been
Okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Let's go back. All right. So the bottom line is if we go back to her, the visual that she had with these guys, is that there is no question with the exception of one of readability. I mean, the witchcraft, I'd have to struggle and they, whatever that's about, in going that. So this is for fans. They're just looking for it. They're looking for, and I think what's really important, although they're the cousins of the two Yaros books with the same color family almost, that I think sometimes it's a good idea if you're doing a series. And Rebecca, maybe you should talk about series covers, the variation that happens with that should happen or should not happen with them. But it's really important to be able to, for a reader, a fan, to know, oh, I don't have that cover, and I'm going to get this book. So I think that's important.
when a cover is changed or updated, you mean?
Yeah.
No,
or it's new in the series. It's new with the series. I think that if they all were the same color, it would be the same color of the book. You're being, what, have I read that or not? Versus the color will trigger that it's a different book. That's
right,
just my take.
There's a lot of ways to trigger a new book, and there has definitely been times when I've picked up a book thinking it's the new one and the next one in the series, when it's just a redone cover or a slightly different. I'm like, I've read this one, blah, you know. So for series, I'm working right now on a 9-book series, 3 trilogies, and we've put every trilogy as a different color.
Yeah, he likes, and the author likes that, actually.
So at least you can organize. Oh my goodness. But we're really big on, this is book 1, and this is book 5, and this is book 9. So that we're really big on that. So numbering the trilogies is really nice. And that's absolutely the best way I do it. Readers are angry when they do that. When you essentially you trick them into buying one that they've already bought. So I'd be careful with that because your reviews are everything. And so if a reader comes up and be like, be careful of book 2 because it looks like book 3, careful about that one, because then people are leery about buying book 3 or buying book 2. You could rim it. You could put a corner. You could just like put a corner that's red or purple or green or whatever with book 2. You could put it on the spine. Spines a lot of times are given away that you don't really use them. Put a number on the spine. You have to, there's other things that have to go on there, but put a number with a color, put a colored block, put a number, then you have it on there. So people can just look at the spine. Oh, this is book 2. Got it. I have this one. Or I've read this one.
It. Yeah, I've liked it when for example, I'll just kind of, all right. So this is book 2 in my series, my historical fiction series.
It's on the cover, but it's pretty subtle.
But it's also, I love the band.
It's on the spine.
That you put on the spine, which has, I don't know if anyone, you can see it. See 2. That's book 2. Right. So if you looked at book 1, we have book 1.
Right.
So, but what I like about that, if the 2 books are together like this, we know they're a family.
Right.
And I think that's for cover design, if you're doing the series for you fiction authors, or, a lot of business books have series, that they've decided, I mean, with the whole thing of making smaller books today instead of the, 600-page tome. Right. That a lot of business books used to be. I remember, Rebecca, when I first started writing, and I was under contract with New York, that they expected an 82,000 word book.
Who's got time for that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll ask you that question. Who's your reader? I want, like, I know you're writing to somebody. I know when you sit down to write, you've got somebody or something in your head. I want you to describe that person to me so that when I'm I'm putting the book together, I can also visualize that person so that we're targeting the same people. I'm not targeting somebody over here. we're together type of a thing. But I will ask you that, who's your target audience? And who has time for that long of a book? A lot of times people will use a plane ride or a commute of some kind to listen to or to read a book. Listening to is very important. I think a lot of books need to be audiobooks, but that's also a different conversation. I have a lot of opinions, but anyway, that's a different conversation altogether. Anyway, I have books that have been redesigned. They've been out on the market and they didn't get where they need to be going, and they got redesigned and went into a different direction. If you want to see some of those are always, I'm always like, oh, that's so fascinating. They didn't get where they were going.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see
Mm-hmm.
those?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, while we're sharing, we're halfway through our program, everyone.
Okay.
But it's just really, this is a deep dive into the mind of the designer. And you got to
I
think
am sorry.
that's this is a partnership that we're doing here,
All right.
that you're doing. So, and the other thing is, I was telling Rebecca the other day, we have a show coming up with of someone who has judged over 2,000 books. And one of the first things they do is look at the cover. And if and I was moaning to Rebecca last year about some of these covers are just crap. I
I
mean, I
know.
don't know what they are. It was almost like, oh, let's see what we can disrupt everything. And there was no connection with it. And one of the things that Jules Marie revealed, and she will be my guest when we're talking about judging books, what the judges are looking for. They start with the cover. And does the cover connect with what the theme of the book is, or what the promise of the book is? Is there a connection? If it isn't, you're going to get dinged if you're
It
going
is.
into award competitions.
It is there's trends. I keep looking at all the trends every day, January. I'm like, oh, look at the trends. Let's see what we're going to get. And I have a piece on that as well, but it's more of the trends never go away. So the trends this year are the same as the trends last year. It's the same as the trends in 23. Same, exactly the same. There's only one or two things that have changed, and I can kind of go over those as well. But one of them is, watch for AI. It's coming up. It's going to be different. It's going to take over more things. Exactly the same for the last 2 or 3 years. Exactly. Another trend is that people don't have a lot of time. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. People don't have a lot of time. So they want to have a cover that grabs you, so that as soon as it grabs you and you pick it up, again, our relationships have changed. So as a graphic designer, book designer, I've done my job. You picked up the book. Now, what does it say? That's kind of your job. What does it say? How can you incorporate the reader? And the books, and as far as the bookseller goes, it's like, they picked up the book, 7 seconds, 36 books. They did it. We won the game. Woohoo, they picked up the book. Then they might buy it. So the idea is all they want you to do is pick it up. So it's got to be like clickbait almost. But a lot of people will look at the book and be like, what? What is this? It talks about a murder on a train, but the book has macaroni and cheese on it. Like, what? What is this? Anyway, like, let's talk about some cover redesigns, because this stuff is fascinating to me. And there are thousands of books out there. Thousands. So anyway.
Well, yeah, 2.4 million new ones last year.
Right? So this is a book top 10, and I'm not crazy about this cover, mostly because so many images. Oh my goodness. Top 10 is it's also like it's a YA, it's a romance, it's a something.
Uh,
I like
uh,
it's going a lot of places, has lots of energy. That's probably a piece of it for sure. Didn't do well. So they made it anyway, they didn't do well. So then they came back and did this to it. And it did much
yeah.
better. Because still a lot of energy, still a lot of, it looks like relationships, looks like young couple relationships. You can read all the words.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm. The
Much
other one,
better.
right? So what happens is the one on the left became the ebook cover, because really nobody looks at ebook covers, because when you put it down, like when you put down a print book, it's always there. You're like, right? Where's my book? Oh, it's over there, because you remember what the cover looks like. With an ebook, you might never see the cover, or you might just see it once when you buy it, or you might, you don't see the cover very often. So they didn't lose money, they didn't throw it away, but they made it the ebook cover. A lot of times we just use the same cover. Anyway,
In my opinion, I think they made a mistake. I'm going to say the cover on the left looked like someone got out their cut and paste, and I have this picture and I have this picture. To me, it looks like crap. The one on
I'm
the
not,
left.
yes, yes, for sure. Right.
Okay,
Title
next.
isn't big enough. There's a lot of things wrong with the one on the left. I don't want to go down that road. It's just, it looks a little DIY. The next one is
Okay.
Midnight at the Electric. So this is like you're walking by and you're like, what? Because all those little zaggy lines, but it fits with Electric. The black fits with Midnight. Like they did try to make it fit, but whew, you're like, you're backing away from it because it's so much. Anyway,
Yeah.
they redesigned it to
And
that. Different, really different. Those
okay.
are side by side, super different. Midnight at the Electric, like those could be totally different books. They could be
Yeah, they could be.
in totally different directions. Like it,
Yeah.
and you wonder which one goes with the story because they're so different. You can imagine the storyline behind you. Oh, you do. I do. I imagine the storyline behind
Yeah, me
one.
too. Well, I'm seeing that, God, Midnight at the Electric could be a horror type thing,
It,
where Midnight at the Electric on the right could be,
it,
you know,
it could
totally
still be
different.
a right. This will kind of Frankenstein-y. I don't know. The one I don't know. I don't know. And now I almost want anyway. Now I almost want to read it or a synopsis so I can be like, oh. But the
That's
one
what it said.
zigzaggy lines definitely draws your eye. And it's not like the one on the right doesn't draw your eye, but it draws a
Yeah,
different eye,
yeah, and it tells a different story. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to what the judge said. Does it connect with the story on the inside?
right? How much of it is it going to be a shock when the
Yeah,
the reader opens it up and it's like, oh, this is what it is. Huh.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I got more. Oh, this one I absolutely love. Oh my God, as a designer, as an artist, I love the background. I love
Mhm.
the rough, uneven type. That it's not spaced right. I have no idea what that book is about. Not the first thing, but I love the superficial, the superficialness of it. That really draws me in as far as a piece of art.
Okay,
You're going to tell me that's a book, and you'd be like, oh, really? That's interesting.
all right. And
It was remade. It's
oh, that's a totally different thing. It's a chick lit.
yes, it's a chicklet.
I
But
never would have guessed.
isn't that
Never,
fascinating? I mean,
never would have guessed.
the first one is absolutely clickbait. Chickbait. Anyway, sorry. I'm horrible with words sometimes. But the first one, like I said, really draws me in by the uneven type and
Oh,
the fact that it's a little rough and the background. It's beautiful for a piece of art, not as a book. The second one's actually, the right one's not really my favorite either, but it probably
no,
tells more of what the story's about.
exactly.
I just, wow. And there's interesting
Wow.
different quotes on it. I mean, everything about it is differently. It's different. It's really interesting. Anyway, I noticed even the age difference. I'd say the one on the left is older. I would almost, is it older one? The one on the right, I would definitely say is teenaged, youth. So
Yep. So
age
it's a
differences,
it's a older
fascinating,
juvenile YA. Yeah.
right? Just fascinating. And there's thousands of these. If you just Google redesigned book covers, right? I
Ooh.
just picked out I just picked out a couple. I might, yep. Oh, this one I think is wonderful. So The Thief. It's an interesting, it's a fantasy book. It looks a little fantasy, right? Little, historically fantasy.
Mhm.
Won a big award. Congratulations. Like, won a big award. But it's a little dry, in my opinion. Title's a little small. I like the fact that they use an unusual font.
Mhm.
It's a little monochromatic. Could be a little, I don't want to put glitter on it, but it could be a little, it could be more. So they did that. It's more.
Well,
They went more.
boy, that took a redirect.
They went more. It's much,
Wow.
right? I don't know which one is true. They're both probably true. I mean, they both kind of go with the same storyline. They both
I think
feature
they're Yeah, I think that is this the Caldecott winner?
Newberry.
Newberry. Oh, so Newberry. This is Newberry medal, right? So I think I would have gone. I think I would even. I'd like to see one without the hands.
I do it
Um,
again. That's just me. I'm a snob, whatever. But it's just like, wow, wow. Hmm. You the hand over the thief is very interesting. And the stones like this, very interesting. So it does make me want, I'm very curious. It does make me want to pick up the book for sure. And I bet both of these covers tell the story behind the book, but about both of them are true. But I'm thinking for a Newbery honor, whew, you could probably go more. You could probably take these a couple more steps. And really,
I think so too.
really go with it.
I think so too. But
Um,
I think everyone, what you're seeing is that you don't have to be stuck with a cover if it doesn't click, if it's not
no,
the right fit. And I think that you also, I think it's really important that you love your cover. I want you to love your cover, but what's really more important that is your intended, let's go back to who are you writing for? It's the magnet for them, because
correct.
that's really the mark you're going for here is what are they looking for? What's the magnet that brings them in? I mean, I was talking to with a couple of young gals. There was three of them floating around in the bookstore, and just talking with them, and they were on the quest for fantasy, and they all bought the same book. They had a pile. Fantasy people have piles of books, and they
Big
were
books
all
too.
looking, yeah, and just talking with them, what was their attractor for them? Because they were looking for new stuff. So it was the cover that was the magnet.
Yep.
They knew the genre they're in. So it
Right.
was that, and
Right.
that knowing that they were young, they were young. So,
Right. It's a lot of times when people come to me, they say, this is my market and this is who I'm writing for. And part of my
mm-hmm,
job is to be like, well, let's just see if we can't open that market a little bit,
mm-hmm,
to see if we can open it up. So
mm-hmm.
that's part of what I do. So what
Oh,
else have I got here? I might have a one more. I might have
one
trends.
more, and then let's go back and then we'll talk about interiors.
Oh, I don't know. I have trends, I think, next. Do you want to talk about
Okay,
trends?
let's talk about trends really quickly, and then yeah.
It's very brief. It's very brief. So I already talked about the
Yeah.
trends are the same, 23,
Yep.
24, 25, they're all the same. One thing that's different, and these are all the trends. Typography is the main focus, simple design, unique color, all the same, all the same.
Mhm.
Nothing's changed. Really, nothing's changed.
Okay.
This is the color of the year. I think they were hungry when they put the color, they chose a hungry of the year, because it is chocolate mousse. It is a wonderful, rich chocolate color. If you think about chocolate mousse, that's the color. The problem on a cover is that's not, it's a good base that you
Mm-hmm.
can put everything else on. Bright, any bright color, a white will work on that, a black will work on that, depending on the type of color chocolate you use, milk chocolate versus dark chocolate, if you want to use those analogies. But I'm thinking, Judith saw it and he goes, those aren't the colors of my books. Don't use that on my book. That's what she said. He's like, you're not using that on my book. And we're even doing a cookbook. And she still said, you're not using that on my book. So
Or
anyway,
or or blue. Or blue. Blue is not my color
blue's
either.
not a color either. Right? But I'm thinking, just because it's a trend, be aware. It doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be your trend. I mean, don't take that too far. Don't go crazy about that in either direction. But just because it's chocolate mousse or mocha mousse is the one this year, needs to be your color. The one thing that is a trend that I thought was super interesting was they're painting the decal edge, the sides of the book, which I'm
Oh,
like, ooh, wow, that's amazing.
that-
Look at that. They have to be hardcover, which a lot of people aren't doing hardcovers, but that's interesting, which is it's just a different technique. They found out how to do that efficiently, cost effectively, and quickly at most book manufacturers. So I thought that was interesting. Look at your book edges. When you're in a bookstore, look at the book edges. Kind of cool, kind of fascinating.
it is very cool.
I mean,
But
it's not just all one color either. They're all,
oh no, it's a true design. But for those of you, let's go back. Let's not forget, you've got a spine on your book that you can do some work on. There can be some art on that spine. It doesn't just have to
something.
be the
Hold
title
something
of
over
the
from the
book and
cover
your
to the
name.
back. It doesn't
Hmm.
have to be blank. It doesn't
Hmm.
have to just say the title. It's actually better in manufacturing, the way the spine fits. If something rolls from the back to the spine, or from it rolls. Whatever artwork rolls front to back or back to front, because then it doesn't have to be on. The spine doesn't have to be so precise. It actually works better
Hmm.
if it rolls a little
It's a
bit. So
plus.
manufacturing,
Yeah.
and then that way also, your spine, if it's just spine out in a bookcase somewhere, library, bookstore, whatever, then somebody goes, oh, it is. I was doing a book about a futuristic book, and there was a dragonfly on the cover, huge. And I put that small also on the spine, just so somebody would be, oh, look at that dragonfly. Dragonflies are interesting. They're fascinating. So I put that on the spine so that there could be this interesting little piece of art that somebody could
Well,
look for.
right. And the other plus is that, remember, if your book is in a bookstore, it's going to be most probable spine out. So you do want to have something in there that does give a little pop to it that people will see, and help. Anything helps to get the
Mhm.
eyeball's attention. That's what I would be after.
Right? I think anything helps. Oh, I see Bob.
Okay. All
This
right.
is
We'll do Bob Run.
okay. This is me getting up on a soapbox and jumping up and down and complaining. So I'll be brief. So as a graphic designer, this is what I love on a book cover. See Bob run. So three simple little words,
Mhm.
very brief. Big graphics. I like to do what I like to do, right? And then you have Bob Smith. And I'm assuming Bob Smith is somebody that runs like the wind, right? Super famous. That's what I love. See Bob run, Bob Smith, big picture of Bob. I love that. Very successful cover, even though I get it, black and white and the whole thing. So this is generally what happens. See Bob
There you
run
go.
through the national parks of the West, including Glacier, Yellowstone, Tetons, Rocky Mountain, and the Grand Canyon, because I'm here in Colorado, so I know the national parks. And it's by Bob Smith and his wife Mary and their twin daughters Susie and Elizabeth and their dog Benji. I get it. This is incredibly, the metadata on this is like through the roof. You can search on this like Bob and the parks and the Yellowstone and his wife, and it comes up. You can see Bob and Benji. You can say Bob running with twins. It's all over the place. This is so incredibly packed with information. There's no room for Bob and his running genius and his running over the mountains like he's doing. So there has to be a balance. I'm not saying don't put this on the cover, don't put this, do or don't. I'm saying you can fill the metadata, which goes in the background. You can put this on the back cover, some of this information on the back cover. Um, there's a balance.
Most of it. Most of it.
And
Most of
subtitles
it.
are very important. Um,
Yes.
Author names are very important.
Yeah.
I do prefer short names on titles. Anyway, that's a different story. But like there is a balance, and I understand a balance. Um, work with a balance. Where a lot of times as a designer, I'll be like, that name, I think I wanted Judith's last book. She had a name, and I'm like, oh, that name's too long. Doesn't work very well. How about Journey? And she goes, yeah, Journey. Journey works. Or Hamlet, or she had something. I'm like, that name's too long. How about this? And she goes, okay. So
Yeah. Yeah. I do listen to Rebecca there. I mean, I do push. Here's what I need to say to all of you. Your cover, your cover is the lighthouse. It's the beacon, that title. All right. So the title is, it's flashing, flashing, pick me up, pick me up. I've got that. The subtitle, for nonfiction, and then do you put a novel or whatever, or the Bob Smith series on running or something, whatever it is, that when you come back to that, is your subtitle, especially for nonfiction, is the promise between the covers.
it's
So,
important.
so if you have a novel, like we have The Secret Journey, The Secret Hamlet, we're just finishing The Secret Rise right now. They're all novels. So we're promising you with the novel, it's a story. We're into a story. And on my other books that I've done, and I've had some long subtitles, but if you've got a great designer, they can be cast off in a net. They can be put into area. You still have the big main title that's the attractor, but it's the promise. And I'm going to go back to book judging, that they're looking for nonfiction that subtitle is critical if the title doesn't tell exactly what's in the book
Correct.
on that.
It is
So
important.
remember that.
A lot of times with a book cover, you want the eye to travel if you can, and you're paying attention. You go to a bookstore, watch how your eye flows. You don't want your eye to flow to the next cover or the next cover, like title, whatever graphic, you want it to flow. A lot of times you just want to do a circle and to repeat itself. So your eye is continually coming back to the title and rereading the title. You have to kind of train your eye, but what you don't want it to do is lead your eye to the next book, because then you're just advertising the next book on the shelf or the next book on the shelf.
So you've lost them.
Right. So you want it
in effect.
You want it to kind of be a circle that you keep coming back, and it can be any kind of a circle. Like, you don't have it be incredibly complicated, because then you've lost your reader. But there is like a flow, what people see first, what people see second. A lot of times when I'm designing and I can't quite get it, it's just not working. I'm like, well, what do they see first? What do they see second? What do you want them to see first? Why aren't they seeing that first? Is always a question I'm asking myself. So anyway, you said something about interiors. You want to go to interiors?
Yeah, we've got about 8 minutes here. So let's.
Not much.
I know it goes fast. See, when we get together, we talk.
Right.
But I love to be able to show you visually some of the things that you could see going on that, if that's what we're going to do, or we can just talk about it. I mean, I love it sometimes when an element's picked up from a cover, and then on the chapter openers, Rebecca's used that phrase many times here, that on your chapter openers, that sometimes I love it when it just kind of, some element, and it just kind of flows down that chapter page and it bleeds into the end of the page. And this is, we're talking about is grayscale of some sort. We're not talking about color. When you're getting into color, you're going to talk about a lot of money. Most of you are probably doing your publishing, at least on the first round. You're thinking of print on demand and doing one of those elements to do testing, to do that, or just this is the way I'm going to print it, versus doing the warehousing and offset runs where you get the print manufacturers in and you do all those kind of things. So you have to think about what you're doing. Now, also, it makes sense. Like, we just had a book we just did, and I will tell you also, if you do a print run, we're going to do a show on printing, but the sweet spot now today is in the print on that, and this market is 1,000 books. You will see a much higher rate, anything like that 250, 500 books. If you go to a printer, they're going to be very close to the print on demand model. You will see at 1,000, like half, huge drop. And then if you go to 1,500 copies, it might shave off 20 cents per copy. 1,000 books. If you're out speaking, if you're doing presentations, if you're doing craft shows, if you're doing any of those elements that have bodies, lots of book clubs where you are bringing books with you, that you might want to think about this as one of your options of having. But and see storm in your garage, get over it.
All right, I'm going to go through covers. I'm going to share the screen again.
Okay.
Yep, share. All right, so going to go through Judith's books, because why not? She's right here. So Secret Journey, just to refresh, this is the cover.
Okay.
This book. So
yep.
I'm going to go to the interior. This is the title page. So it's a little different. I'm going to jump. So this is how the book opens up. I'm giving you my InDesign file, so you can see them as a spread. Contents. Contents. So this is what happens with book one. I bring in this chapter title so you have the sword. The sword is an important piece of this woman's journey.
Yeah.
So this
the dagger's huge. The dagger is in all 4 books. Yeah.
So that's the prologue. Now we go through the early years. This is also something, this tapestry is also part of just a texture that's part of the back cover. But then you have the title page, or sorry, you have chapter 1. So now it's just running text with POVs, point of view changes, which is those little, and you have, again, these little details right here are point of view changes and end of chapter. This book is long enough that we have chapter starts left and right. If not, we'd have a lot of blank pages and it would frankly go forever. So anyway, so we have chapter starts left and right. That's just kind of what I like to do. It brings a little flavor in. It gives the reader a visual cue. Oh, chapter 4, got it. So there is no So then let's jump to, sorry,
All
that's a
right.
secret journey. And so then we're going to jump to, if I can, oh, the Hamlet cover, book 2. Just to give you a flavor of what that looks like. The Hamlet starts here, title page. Again, a lot of these things are very similar contents. You know, we're now into a series. This one now had maps because now they have settled into it. You know, before they were journeying, now they've settled. That's how the story ended. So then we have, before they had the dagger, and now she is in with the arrows. And I think book 3 will be her wolf. So there's always an element that comes with this.
Yeah.
So here we have chapter 1, you know, running text. Chapter 2, we use the feather as a point of view. These things change. It just adds a little bit of class. I don't know, a little bit of something to the, so and it runs through. Chapter starts left and right. I think I can pull up the book 3 cover as we have it so far. No, so it's not, it's
Right.
systems are changing, but book 3 looks like this. So I'm thinking about using some of the wolves possibly, or the eagle, the hawk, I'm sorry, it's a hawk. The hawk being a piece of it too. This is still developing. It's the still in writing. It's, I don't know, it's about to go to a content editor in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, our next editor. Yeah, 2 weeks. We're done in 2 weeks with the book. But this one, the wolf has always been a major factor from book 1. But
And the
now
hawk
we
as
have
well.
yeah, and the hawk is carried through.
And there's the
Um,
dagger. I mean, the dagger is
and the
still
dagger
there.
is very big, and the bow. This our protagonist is a badass bow
He is
person.
pretty
So
badass. But now she's more civilized. Now she's
badass.
a landowner. Now she has children. The children on the 4th book, I think, inherit the earth. Something. Anyway.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Right. Becca,
hang
we
on.
have 1 minute.
I know, I need to stop sharing. Hang on.
All
Eh,
right. So, but you can see that series. Did you notice that on those covers that you see 1, 2, 3? You know what's going on here, on that, and there's those variations, on that. We just need to do a stop share.
I know. I'm trying to get there.
Oh, you're trying to get there. Oh, the ocean. I love it.
There you
There
go.
we go. All right. So, bottom line in our in our final 1 minute here is covers count. Your
Covers
design
count.
counts.
Yes.
And it counts from the get-go. I think that's
It's
what I
how
want
you,
you to all leave with.
it's the first thing that your reader will see. Not your words, unfortunately, it's the visuals. And don't do DIY. Get somebody professionally to do it.
Please, please. And with that, Rebecca Finkel, thank you for being with us. All right. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Remember, successful authors have the 2 Ps, patience and persistence. I'll see you next week.